Hi guys, it is I, TatoASR, the speedrunning man. Today I'm gonna talk about some of the backup strats you can do for Scaldera with bombs, because the optimal strategy, while I was practicing it, I realized that it's kind of hard, and there's no explanation of what, backups you can do. And it turns out, after messing around with it a ton, there's a pretty consistent amount of backups to get mistakes that can still give you tricycles, and very fast ones too. So first we're gonna talk about the most common mistake, which actually has like the most simple fix to it, surprisingly, and that's if you miss the first spin attack. This has happened to me so many times because the optimal strategy is to skyward strike the eye and then spin attack or place a bomb and then detonate it by doing a spin attack. And you have to hit the eye with the spin attack or else the rest of the fight is not gonna go well. So this is the backup for that. And it still gives you a tricycle, by the way. It's really simple, so I'll walk you guys through it. So all good so far. Throwing the bomb. Another thing to talk about is that's much easier to get consistent skyward strikes if you like target and then untarget before the strike, so you can get the correct angle. So you'll notice that I'm literally doing the rest of the strat normally, because that's the backup to this. The backup is to just do it normally, except for phase 3 right here, where I just do an extra spin attack. That's it. That's literally it. The most common mistake and the easiest fix. Now this actually has a couple more uses. If you miss the spin or the normal slash during phase 2, I'm gonna skim through this one because it's essentially just the same thing. If you miss or forget the normal slash, which is what I did here, or I pretended to forget because I was getting footage, you could just do phase 3 with an extra spin attack, and you'll still get the tricycle. So it's not a huge deal if you miss those. But with the spin attack, it's a little tricky to time. That's all I've noticed. You want to make sure you're far enough away from Scaldera where the sword doesn't like bonk his head or anything. But other than that, it's a really simple solution to a really common destroyer of tricycles. So another one I want to talk about is if you miss the skyward strike during phase 2. This is probably the most difficult one to back up. It's also the one that loses the most time. It loses about 10 seconds, and it adds an extra cycle no matter what. So I'm gonna tell you about the optimal way to back this up, and then I'll tell you about an easier way that I didn't get footage of because I was a little tired of fighting Scaldera. So, yeah. First phase is done correctly here. And then second phase, you'll see the Skyward Strike. The second Skyward Strike doesn't want to charge. And it's important to recognize when you're not going to have enough time. You can see the eye moved over there, which means that there's no way in heck I'm going to be saving that. So the backup for this is to just do another Skyward Strike and the normal slash, and then detonate the bomb like that. So that's incredibly tricky to time. And the reason you can't detonate it with you right in front of you is because at this point you're on 2 hearts. And this part is also really tricky. You saw right there, it was kind of scuffed. But this part is really tricky because phase 4 Scaldera, the eye moves really fast, right? Because he's got a lot less rocks on him, so to ramp up the difficulty casually, he's going to move his eye everywhere. So this one is really tricky. This is the hard part, is like anticipating where his eye is going to be. Also, you need 7 bombs for this because I used up all my bombs and I had 7 to start. So might as well pick up an extra bomb just in case before the fight. So I have to kind of wait for the eye to come in the center. And this is really tricky, I'm not gonna lie. It's hard to anticipate his movements like this with an extra 4th cycle. So if you add a 4th cycle, you have to be very aware of this. The that's why the other ones I tried to do everything in my power to try to keep it as a tricycle, because adding a fourth cycle is just annoying with bombs. So yeah, you just do the Skyward Strike, and what I did here was just kind of wail on him, just go crazy, and it still worked. So yeah, and an easier way to do this, because another tricky thing is during the third phase, that bomb placing, it can be a little tricky to get everything down in a short amount of time. You could also like miss the bomb because you can't like target. Or I don't target. Maybe if you target it, it would be better. But in my experience, when you target Scaldera, you miss the bomb completely. So yeah. So if you don't like this, if it's too tricky, you could also just during phase 2, right here. Wait, no, that's not phase 2. So like right here, I think it's here. No, it's not. I'm very bad at this. So yeah, during phase 2, if you don't charge it, and you do that, you'll notice that his HP doesn't change when you hit the bomb. So the easier and safer strat you could do is just wait till he becomes invulnerable again and starts climbing up to you. And from there, you could just run back, bait him, throw a bomb in his mouth, and then do the placement like that. And instead of like running backwards and skyward striking the bomb, you could just hit yourself, and it'll be easier. It's less tricky to time that way. So yeah, that's another one. And then one of the last one that I want to talk about is the accidental double hit. This is rare, because it's like, if you don't know, there is certain positions and distances you can be away from Scaldera where you can hit him with a Skyward Strike, and the game will register that you did sword damage, like a normal slash, and also Skyward Strike damage. So this does way too much damage, and it's not good for this fight. So I'll show you what happens here. I accidentally pull out my slingshot, which is fun, but that doesn't do anything. So this first Skyward Strike, instead of getting him to normal, it'll cap his health at 70 here. Now, you'll notice I also didn't do a spin attack to hit the eye. And that's because if you do end up doing spin attack damage, that puts you in a worse position. So you would want to either do a horizontal spin attack or or wait for his eye to move out of the way so that you don't do that extra damage, because then he won't get knocked back. He'll become invulnerable and start chasing you, and that's really slow. So yeah, otherwise his damage is going to be at 70, and the fix for this is actually pretty simple. Again, you just don't do that last hit, because then he'll immediately become invulnerable again and start chasing you. So there's a normal slash after the 2 Skyward Strikes, and then you just add an extra spin attack at the end. Yeah, the strategy is the same if you do end up doing damage with the vertical spin attack here. So if you do end up hitting his eye with the vertical spin attack as you detonate the bomb, the strat is the same. It doesn't change. The only difference is you have to run away from Scaldera now, because he's going to start climbing up to you. And yeah, those are some of the most common errors I can think of. If you messed it up in another way, and none of my backup strats work for that, let me know in the comments, and I will try to figure out some way to fix it so that nobody suffers with Scaldera anymore. Because that is my only purpose in life. It's to make Scaldera less dumb. So yeah, I hope you found this helpful. Bye.